Alright, this is the Master Blaster coming at you again from STF in Elk Grove. And in this video I'll be telling you how to prep, prime, and paint your cabinet doors the proper way. And a few things in between. So with that being said, hey, let's get into it.
Alright, these are some cabinets we just finished. They're going up to a cabin in a place called Kennedy Meadows. If you don't know where that's at, that's right on the outskirts of Yosemite National Park. We actually went up there a few years ago. Stayed in one of the little cabins, really cute cabin. We went fishing and we went on the 3-hour horseback ride up to a lake that's actually in Yosemite. Fished there for a while, ate some lunch, and then a 3-hour ride back. It was pretty cool, but it was, if you're not used to riding horses that much, like I'm not, you're in a little bit of pain for a while, shall I say. But it was well worth the trip. Beautiful place.
Alright guys, you got your new doors in for a cabinet shop. This one's actually going downtown Sacramento. What you're going to want to do is put your spot putty on first. I'm going to show you why and tell you why, and some of the things you find and look for while you're doing this. Now when you're putting your spot putty on, you're going to want to look at all the joints, make sure there's no separation. If there's separation, you're going to want to check it to see if it's loose, which doesn't necessarily mean it's cracked or it's broke. It just means it's loose. The glue at the factory didn't get on one side and it's loose on it. These look pretty good right here. And the other thing you're doing this for is there'll be little tiny pinholes in it, or it'll be offset. One side will be a little higher than the other. It helps level it out, because when you spray it, you want it to look like one piece all the way around. You don't want to notice the uprise in one side where it's offset. You also do those. You also do the ends for the same reason. When you sand it, you can tell, make sure that it's all level all the way across so it's not visible to the people when they see it. The other reasons, I told you in a video before, never just prime your doors. There's a few reasons for that. Never just prime your cabinets, get them there. It doesn't save you time. All it does in the long run is hurt you and the cabinet shop. Because right now you're looking for any possible flaws at all on the first coat of primer. Because as I mentioned, if you watch the other videos, some of this paint is very translucent. So you don't want to be putting red primer on the last coat before you put the paint. You want to have caught everything wrong with the door before then. Okay, I've got that all bonded up. I did find a door yesterday that I'm going to show you guys in just a minute. And I'll show you how to fix it, and probably the most important reason why you bondo first. Alright, as I was putting my spot putty on yesterday, I noticed there was a slight gap in the side right here. As I put the first one on, I could see the bondo go down in it, the spot putty. Whenever that happens, and you can actually see it go in it, you need to check it. I went and I put pressure on it, and sure enough, that joint is loose. It's not broke, it's just loose. So you need to fix that. I'll show you how. And when this happens, we don't bother the cabinet shops, we just fix it on our own. It's not their problem. They didn't build the doors, the door shop. So it's just easier to fix it by yourself and not hassle them. That's what we've done all these years. A lot of them don't even know we do this. They're gonna be surprised when they see this video. Everybody thinks that new doors are ready to go, and they're not. Sometimes you'll get more than one that'll be cracked, loose, I might say. Some of them are cracked. You just gotta look for those and find them, because if you don't fix it, sure, if you went over this and just primered this door, didn't do any of this putty and stuff and just primered it, it would cover up that little crack. And you would sand it with your primer, you'd primer it again, you'd paint it, and that crack would not be visible until it gets on the job and the customer starts shutting the door, using the door. That crack's gonna crack all the way down through there. And that's what you don't want. You wanna go to your jobs 10 years later or so and the door's not be cracked. It just makes you look better, makes the job looks better, and you know everything's going out right. All right, I'm gonna show you how to fix something like this. Okay, to fix this problem, what you're gonna need is a clamp. If you notice, I've got pieces of cardboard taped to the inside of it so it doesn't damage the outside of the door. A clamp, some glue, wood glue, and a damp towel. Not real wet, just damp. What you're gonna wanna do, you're gonna put a little fine, not a huge bead, but just a bead of glue on the top of that line, like that. Then you're gonna want to spread this door apart. Let me move that. You're gonna wanna spread that apart, and you're gonna wanna smash it down inside that crack where the opening is. Push it down in there, work it in there, and when you let it go, it'll look just like that. There'll be a line there where the glue has went in there and is coming out. You see that line? That's where the glue went down and where that door was open. You know it's in there, you know it's gonna dry good, and now you clamp it. You go ahead and wipe it off with your damp towel right now. Again, you don't get it soaking wet. You just wipe it off. You don't want to have to be sanding all that glue off the top. Put your clamp on there, and you'll probably see some more glue come out when you tighten it. A little more glue. So then you wipe it a little, and then you let it dry. It doesn't take that long to dry. That door's not gonna crack now. Don't let them go like that. Check your stuff. Always do this to your doors first. Spot putty them. Check everything on them. You wanna find it You want to make the cabinet shop look good. You don't want to make them go out 40 miles or whatever from their place and drive 40 miles to your place to fix something that you could have paid a little attention to, took a little time, and fixed before it was even a problem. And nobody knows but you. Now, next I'll show you how to sand these doors. All right, I'll be sanding this with my orbital sander with 240 hook and loop on it. And I'll be breaking the edges. I did a little example here to show you. I drew some stuff out to show you what happens when you don't break the edges when you do. This is like pre-finished doors. They don't break the edges. Your finish is going to be very thin at the edge if it's a sharp edge. The finish doesn't stick and build on there. But if you break the edges, you don't have to break them that much. It makes the finish a lot stronger on the edges because that's your vulnerable point on those finishes on the edges. I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. First you sand it with the 240 hook and loop. It's going to take most of that off the front. Sand your end. You're going to leave a little on there. And you can see where it was on, where it's a little offset because the red is a little more red. That makes it where it levels out right. And you don't have to sand the wood all the way down. Sanding with your hook and loop paper. You're going to break the edges now with it just a little bit. Now you've got your outside edges broken, you've got your spot putty, you know this door's good, it ain't gonna crack whenever they shut it. Now you're gonna break these edges also. They're the same thing. You want the finish on there good, where it's not vulnerable to water, or even, not just water, even if it's got a sharp edge, even just rubbing it a few times, because there's nothing hardly on those sharp edges. Finish-wise, never leave a sharp edge. You don't want to over sand it either. You don't want a big round over on it. You just want it where it's broke. You can feel it. You can feel if it's sharp or if it's got a good broke edge. You'll also want to break these a little bit. Not enough where it's really noticeable, but enough where you know that it's going to get a good coat of finish on it. The finish will stick to it and it won't be thin right there. Then you go to the front. This particular door has a little tiny gap around it, so you're going to want to sand that over a little bit. All the way around. And you fill inside and make sure sometimes that lip right here, two lips inside here, sometimes that one will be sharp, but this one's already rounded over, but the bottom one is sharp. So you're going to want to round that over a little bit also. Just break that edge on there.
Oh,
and
hey. What are you guys doing here? Or are you?
There's Oscar.
Me?
There's Oscar over there. Naughty Dog Cabinets. So you just finished breaking this edge. You never know when people are going to bust in here. Now you got to take it and blow it off. Take it inside and prime it. And you bring it outside and you check it for stuff. I'll go through all that with you, with painting and everything on the doors. All right, next will be priming. I've already primered the front of this door. I showed you guys how to primer the back. You primer the front the exact same way, but one thing you do in between primering the front and the back is after you primer the back, go ahead and sand the edges, the sides, before you primer the front. It just takes a lot of the roughness out. Sometimes the edges are pretty rough. It just makes it easier when you do your final sand. All right, I'm going to show you how to sand this for your next coat. Again, you're going to go over the door, look at it everywhere you can. See if there's any flaws in it that you can fix right now. This one looks pretty good so far. Yeah, it looks good. 220. Sandpaper on here. And then you got your sponges. It's a sponge that's been used. It's not a brand new one. You don't want to use the brand new ones. If you have to, you can rub them together to wear them out a little bit if you're going to use a new one. You don't want it too sharp, leaving scratch marks. But this is where these sponges come in really handy. You go along the edges. And then you do your flat surface on the inside. You guys probably can't tell, but I got like a glare off of it, so I can actually see if there's any imperfections in the wood. Then you sand your outside. Now you do your molding on the inside of the door. These sponges work really great for this. They contour to the molding, so you don't sand through. If you try to use those hard ones, the square ones, you can't do this. I never have used those hard square ones. Okay, and then on the inside, you're gonna want to take a wore out one of these, same paper, it's just wore out. And you want to go around the inside. That's to get anything off of there. You'll see some buildup in there, just stuff, and you got to take it off. Again, you try not to sand through your primer anywhere. Then give your door a good look over. Make sure you ain't got nothing wrong with it. Looks pretty good. Blow it off, and you're going to look for any bridging. Bridging is when the panel connects to the molding right here. If you have any bridging, I'll show you in just a minute how to deal with that. All right, I've blown off this door, and by bridging, looking for it, you're looking down in this groove right here. It does bridge. It can be caused by you putting too much paint on it. You get these little tools. You get these at Harbor Freight. They're really good for this stuff. If there's anything in there, sometimes it'll be chunks of stuff. You don't even know where it came from. You don't want any bridging because it ruins the look of the door. You just go along gently, and you take it out, basically. Scrape it back out. When you're spraying a door, any doors, you always want to keep your gun straight up and down. You want to keep it straight up and down as you can. You don't want to angle it like this. What that does is that puts all your spray in the corners, and that's when you're going to get your bridging and stuff, and the paint is not even on the door. It's obviously not as much out here as it is in the middle. So you want to get it where it goes even. And these guns are a two-trigger process. The first one turns on the air, the second one turns on the fluid. So when I go, you get used to it after a while, and you automatically know where to stop. So you're not spraying after you pass the door. You want to stop around the edge of the door when you go across and keep your gun level. I've noticed that when people come in here and spray, or I see people spraying other places, if they're doing this stuff and they're trying not to, it's usually because their stand's too high for spraying the doors. You got to make it, and it's different for everybody, your lengths of your arms, how tall you are. You got to make it where it's comfortable for you to keep your gun level and keep it straight. You don't want to be trying to fight it where you're all jammed up, it's too high. You want it comfortable. If you notice when I'm in there, I spray on a turntable. They're easy to make, and it's the only way to get the finish on properly. I see people, they be out on the job sites, they'll have 2x4 setup and stuff on them, and they're reaching over like this trying to spray the other side. You don't know if you're getting it on there right, and that angle determines how much overspray you're going to get on the back. I use that, and I made these stands. These are 8 inches tall, and I taper them. I taper them because you don't want to get paint on the top, and then when you set the next door on there, it gets on there, because sometimes you do glass doors, and they got narrower, so you can spread these out whichever way you need to go to fit the glass door to accommodate for its size. And I found over the years these are about the right height for the overspray when you spray to let the stuff go through instead of hit the bottom and bounce up on it. All your overspray is going to depend on the angle you shoot your gun on the edges. I can't tell you what angle I shoot. I don't have a way to measure it, but you can see when I shoot, I don't shoot down straight, that's for sure. That's going to cover your back with overspray. The only proper way to do them is use a turntable so you can see the whole door and spin it around. And if you're going to adjust the size of if you're having that problem spraying, you need to adjust the table. Don't adjust these. Leave these that length. Now that I've showed you the sanding procedure and the table and the stands I use, and how to hold your gun when you're spraying, keep it straight up and down. What you're gonna do next step now is you're gonna go back in and primer the doors one more time. Alright, I sanded that door with 220, showed you guys how to sand it all the primer, and as I looked at the paint, I seen that it was pretty translucent, and there is some pretty big grooves in this door. So what we did was I went in and I put a coat of paint on it, trying to get down in these grooves the best I can without any buildup. Now I sanded it with 220 just the same way I sanded the primer. It's all perfectly smooth. But these little grooves down around here, there's no way really to get into them good, because the air hits first and it doesn't let your finish go down there, your paint product go down inside. So the only way to get those properly is to take a brush after you've got them all sanded. Take a brush and brush down in there, and it covers up all the light marks, makes it just as thick as the outside of the door. And this is what we do on these. It takes a little time, but you got to get it right. Most of the doors, a lot of the doors you don't have to do this to with the brush, but any of them that have a deep groove, you pretty much have to get it right. Or you're going to have light spots in there where you can see the wood, where it's thin. You don't want to put too much in there, have a build up, but you want to put enough where it actually covers the whole door inside there. All right, I got that done. Then you want to take a rag and just get a little bit of acetone on it. Not dripping wet, not sopping wet, just where it's just moist. And then you can wipe off your excess paint. Now I've already sanded this door, so it is now ready for the final coat. And you can see there's no bridging. It's all fully coated around the edge. So it's ready for me to paint the back. I'll show you the painting process. I'll paint the backs first, and then you paint the fronts last. And that'd be it for now.
Coming back there? Anybody else coming back today?
No one else is coming back from our part today.
We won't be back till
Next week.
next week. Yeah.
All right, I just showed you guys how to paint, prep the doors, and prime them, sand them, get them ready. You'll notice that on my stands, I had tape on them, and on my turntable, I had tape bed paper. That's because after you spray for a while, it gets a lot of overspray on it, gets paint hooked on it, and the easiest thing is to tape them off, and then when it's got, you go to do a new job, just take the tape and paper, cut it off, and then redo it, and you start with a fresh pair. The other thing is, the clothes you wear, you're the closest thing to the doors. So if you're getting a lot of lint and stuff on them, it's probably from you. It depends on what you wear. You got to wear stuff that doesn't have a lot of lint coming off of it, anything like that. These Master Blaster shirts work great. I get them and I wash them once. It takes all the loose stuff off, and then I blow off before I go in, and I have no problems. And the other thing is caulking doors. If you notice, I talk about the bridging, and I have the little tool to go around to make sure that you keep it where it's open so it's not bridged anywhere. When you caulk these doors, pretty much any door, the panel in the middle, even if it's good caulking, says it won't crack, it's not the caulking that cracks usually, it's the paint, because this paint doesn't flex at all. After you put the caulk on there and you paint it, shutting the door, moving the door, the heat, the cold, makes the door flex, makes it change, and sooner or later that caulking is going to crack. You're going to get a crack in it, and more than likely the people are going to call you and want you to come fix it. So we don't caulk doors as much as possible. If we do, we tell them, hey, we don't guarantee it, we don't suggest it. That's just for you. That's one less problem you got to worry about in the future after you paint it to come back and try to fix. With that, I'd like to say hit that subscribe and like button, and I hope everybody's having a great time. Enjoy this video. Peace out, everybody, from the Master Blaster.